In today's episode of the Wild Party podcast, I share an insightful conversation with Jim Kaslik, founder of the UnWipe, a clever, compact, zero-waste bathroom tool that's challenging the $10 billion flushable wipes industry. In our conversation, we discuss the environmental disaster of disposable wipes, the surprising science of toilet paper texture, and what it takes to market a product that people don't want to talk about, but definitely need. It's a fun, fascinating look at what happens when innovation meets purpose. And yes, we talk about poop. Let's get the party started. Welcome to the Wild Party podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. Today, I'm excited to welcome to the show Jim Kaslik, the founder, creator, and entrepreneur behind the UnWipe. It's probably the best product you have not heard of, and once I tell you about it, you're immediately going to start clicking on the screen and saying, I need to buy this. I know that was my reaction because the UnWipe solves the problem of the disposable, let's say, butt wipe that is now available everywhere. And if you are interested in saving the environment at all, you have to be like me and think every time you use one of these, whether you call it butt wipes or body wipes, you think to yourself, this can't be a good idea because we use so many of them.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's good to be here and talk to you.
Yeah, so the UnWipe is really what it is, guys. Okay, I have to describe it first. It is a little plastic pod, and what you do is you place a
May I
little bit.
interrupt? Not plastic, it's silicone. We are zero plastic.
Thank you for correcting me. It is a silicone pod. I have to describe the visual though so they understand what it is.
Of
So
course.
it's a silicone pod that essentially what you do is you put a small amount of water in it, and
Right.
then you scrunch up a little bit of toilet paper and you press it in to the pod so it essentially kind of compacts the toilet paper and then makes like a little textured imprint on it, and then you use that as a butt wipe. And it's entirely flushable, biodegradable, doesn't create any more, stuff to throw in a landfill. And not only that, you walk away with an extremely clean butt. Jim, as soon as the show is over, I am buying one of these. Oh, and by the way, guys, Jim also already gave us a discount code for this, so I will be posting it at the end of the show because I can't wait to buy it. Jim, here's the thing. I am a runner. And as a runner, we spend like 90% of our lives talking about going to the bathroom.
I'm
Not,
a runner also, just so you know.
okay, then like talking about poop is like a major portion of our lives. And also talking about how are we going to keep clean as we're running. You just solved
Yes.
everything.
With sweat and everything else, yes.
Yes. So, Jim, please take me back to the beginning before you solved our entirely self-created problem, which I am so excited about. What were you doing in your life? Where did you come from?
Um, are you talking about with the product or more in general?
Just in general, before you
Okay.
created the UnWipe, what were you in? Were you an inventor? I mean, where did this brainchild come
Yeah,
from?
that's really the term that I use, that or designer. I've had a number of careers. It started with software, and I built a software company that did some global stuff and sold that. And then I designed houses for a while, and it was a really unique style of house. So I started venturing off into things that were, let's call them unconventional. I invented a kitchen product that was on the market for a decade or more, and then morphed into what we're doing now, which is trying to rid the world of the scourge of flushable wipes that are not flushable.
Oh, yeah, these wipes are everywhere. Let me tell you, at my gym, another thing that I see all the time. So now they have all these disposable wipes that they want you to use to wipe down your equipment when you're done, which sounds great. Oh, it's so hygienic. But the amount of waste they produce, even just in one group fitness class that I'll take, I'll be like, oh my God, let's stop with the one-use wipes, right? So here you
Let
are,
me
Jim.
give you a sense of the amount. For flushable wipes alone, just the type called flushable meant to use by a toilet, 100 billion of them a year. That's enough to fill the New Orleans Superdome.
Oh my
Just
God.
for that. For baby wipes, it's 1.5 times that. And then we won't even talk about the kind you mentioned, which are more the cleaning wipes. We're addressing the flushable wipes, the kind meant to put down the toilet, which of course none of those are. They're a synthetic fabric. But because our product uses toilet paper for the same purpose with texture, it's totally flushable.
Yeah, let's talk about this whole product and your journey to creating it. Okay, so you told us that you were an inventor, you had already developed some ideas. So clearly you're a creative thinker. Like you look to create solutions to problems that you see. So I know the story that your PR person gave me was that you had found this pack of disposable wipes in the back of a cabinet. They were all dried out, and that was kind of like what sparked your curiosity about what could you do to make it better? But really, like, tell us, what were you working on or what was going on in your mind that you suddenly decided, I'm going to solve this problem of
Well,
this very, non-disposable wipe that seems to be popping up everywhere.
what you mentioned is accurate, and that's half of the answer. And so Lacey was proper in what she told you. So I did find I was doing spring cleaning, and way in the back of the cabinet, I found this old dried out pack of wipes, and I have no idea how it got there. It wasn't something we regularly used. It appeared, I have no idea how. But then about a week later, I saw an email from a friend who's a civil engineer, and it was a rant about the horror of flushable wipes and what they're doing to the sewer systems and the water treatment plants. And the two ideas merged together in my head, and I'm sort of comparing them, weighing one against the other, and go, there has to be a better way. And I knew from the start it had to involve toilet paper because our infrastructure is designed to properly handle that, whether it's septic or sewer, the wastewater treatment facilities exist. It had to be portable. You mentioned the exact reason why. I'm a runner, you're a runner, and we aren't always at home. We go to the gym, or we're at work, or we're at a hotel, or we travel somewhere, or you go to a race. And what do they have there? They have porta potties.
Mm-hmm.
None of those places want your wipes, but you still want, forgive me the expression, a clean backside, which is about as intimate as we'll get in this discussion. And so, I knew it had to do these things. I knew it had to be a one-time purchase, because who wants to waste their money on these awful wipes that create an environmental problem that you have to keep buying? So I knew all these things, and then it became a matter of how to connect the dots.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, listen, like I said, as a runner, I talk about going to the bathroom all the time with anyone that will have that conversation with me. And yes, having a clean backside is a major priority in my life. As with
Yeah,
anyone, right? So, and
it
the thing is,
should be for anyone, anytime. You don't want to sit in a meeting with an awkward feeling. You don't want to sit on an airplane. You don't want to be driving somewhere, use the highway rest area, and have to sit in your car seat going, well, that wasn't very good, because they don't have the same capabilities, conveniences you might have at home, for example.
You're exactly right. And the thing is, as consumers, we are uneducated in a lot of things. One of them is the fact of what really happens when we flush something down the toilet.
Oh,
As I've said on previous shows, we live in a society now where we're very trained that when you throw it away, away is a magical place where things just disappear.
right,
And the toilet's like that too. People throw all kinds of stuff down there. So, all of these butt wipes and body wipes and all kinds of stuff show up on the market in the last, 15, 20 years. And
it's
people think,
awful.
oh, it's okay to throw in the toilet because some of them will actually say it is flushable. Although we know our systems, as you said, are not created to accept this kind of waste and process it
Right,
in the way it should be. And many of the packages will actually even say, do not flush this, but people do anyway.
right.
Listen, sometimes it's such a mess, you just want it away from you. It's a natural human thing, right? So I totally understand where you were going with this. So when you first then decided, I think I could do this better, take us on that process of actually what it's like from concept to product creation. Because it's always so amazing to pick up a product anywhere in a store and say, how did they know how to create this? Because
Right,
what you've done, it's so ingenious and it's so simple. You think to yourself, why did nobody do this before?
right.
Jim, what was in
Well,
your mind? How did you know how to create a product like this?
well, design is a matter of stripping things away until what you have left is just what works. And that's why it took me about 6 years to get from the first thought to a proper version. And in that time, you're doing a lot of prototyping. For me, that's the single most fun part of this whole process. I love building prototypes. I love trying things. And it was looking around saying, what materials, what devices, what can I use that will get me where I want to go? The real insight was figuring out texture because you can't just, I said earlier, it had to be based on toilet paper because the infrastructure is based on that. But you can't just stick that in a cup of water and have something effective because of the way it's made, it's going to come apart at the worst moment. That is when you're using it, because it's built with very, very short fibers, whereas wipes are built with much longer fibers, and that's why they don't come apart when they're flushed. So once I figured out texture, I had to figure out how to optimize the texture, how to get the most texture. And with the UnWipe, you get texture that is 10 times what's on toilet paper when you buy it at the store. Much, much better. That's hard to understand on a podcast. It's hard to understand, just from a picture on our website. You really have to touch it to see, but it's a vast difference and it makes a vast difference in cleaning. So it was just experiment, 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 try different things, be quick to throw them out. And then you finally have something that you've optimized.
Yeah, and I'm sure you do a lot of explaining still about, look, the toilet paper is not going to dissolve because I even watched your videos several times. You have great little tutorials right on your
Thank
website.
you.
It'll all be linked in the podcast show below. Because I was like, I don't understand how this can work because toilet paper, when it's wet, will dissolve, right? And so, yeah, it was really interesting for me to see, oh, you just take a small amount, you press it into this, and by compressing it, it actually creates a texture and makes it more durable, and then
Right.
you can use it and throw it away. I do have to ask, I did notice on your little pod, your little UnWipe pod, when you press the toilet paper in, there is a very cute little poop emoji. Was that your idea?
It was. And it really came from uh, during the experimentation and as part of writing up the patents. We knew that when you press the paper in, almost like if you were messing around with Play-Doh, you get an impression of the mesh. And that's a positive. And then it occurred to me that you could also create the negative, which would be grooves in the paper. And then it followed on from there that it's like, well, it would be better if it were a design. What design do we want? And I have to admit, that doesn't please everyone. I have people say, but I use this to wipe my kid's face when we're out at a restaurant, and I'm not going to touch his face with a poop emoji. And I'm like, it's still paper. It's just an emoji, but I understand. And at some point we will offer variety. But even that's a manufacturing challenge.
Well, that's pretty funny that that would be the reaction. That did not occur to me at all. I just thought it was friendly and cute and makes you want to use the product. But,
Yeah.
people are weird. I did notice that you did.
It is meant to be silly with a topic that can quickly get awkward. And and people know the poop emoji from messaging these days. So it's a pretty comfortable thing for most people. And, we try to do right by everyone, though.
Right. And to be clear to my audience that is listening out there, remember, you are merely taking clean toilet paper and then
Yes.
pressing it into the pod, and then you take the toilet paper off the pod and you use the toilet paper. So the pod never touches your butt. I want to be very clear about that, because
Thank
that
you.
seemed to be a question when people are like, I don't know, how do you keep it clean? It's like it never touches anything but clean toilet paper. Okay.
Clean paper, clean water that you're constantly refreshing. So it is probably the cleanest thing in your bathroom, because it never touches anything that isn't clean, and it's always being washed by the water you're dumping in it. But you're right that dealing with that misconception, I'll tell you why those misconceptions start, and it is the biggest challenge I face, which is every one of our potential customers is already an expert in toilet paper. Everyone has used it their whole lives. So who am I to have the nerve to tell them they can do something with toilet paper that never occurred to them in their 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years of life? And in fact, I was speaking with a couple scientists from one of the largest paper companies and toilet paper companies. They didn't know it could be done. And they were a bit disconcerted to learn that after all their years in the lab, they were finding out something from the outside that could be done with toilet paper that had never occurred to them. And, so you get a little defensive and everything. Everyone gets defensive and they think something has to be wrong. But as you pointed out, we're compressing the paper. We're getting it just a little bit wet, not a lot wet, like putting it under a faucet. And that holds it together with extra strength, long enough to use. And then it works like normal once you drop it in the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Everybody's an expert in toilet paper. So essentially, you have to go in and retrain the entire world
Yes,
about how to really use toilet paper. So, I mean, that's quite a hurdle. But tell me a little
it
bit
is.
about maybe some of the unexpected hurdles that you had in just getting the product to market, because you have this idea, you started developing prototypes. What was that next step in the journey like to you? Because obviously, you have a lot of naysayers. Where did you find the yes, I think, in the formula?
Well, it turns out that the marketing is the biggest challenge, the messaging. The product part, I had enough experience to know how to address that. Well, it turns out our biggest problem was the marketing, the messaging. It wasn't the manufacturing, because I had prior experience with that and I kind of knew the steps involved in handling the physical product. About 15 years ago, I had been working with a manufacturer and I use them now. So I had prior history with a manufacturer that I trust, that does awesome work, that's quality, that communicates well, and that is completely reliable. Nowadays, you have much better systems than a couple decades ago for fulfillment and logistics. So that wasn't a problem either. But it really was the messaging, getting people to accept that there's something new they can do with toilet paper, that the product itself doesn't scrape your butt, that toilet paper, if you just put it under the faucet, it will fall apart. It's supposed to. But if you use it with our product, because of the way it's handled and compressed, and because you only use a little bit of water, it's only about half teaspoon of water at a time, that it creates this perfect imitation of a wipe but with more texture.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the marketing because you're right. It's not just your business, but in every business, unless you can convey what the product does to change your life, people will remain skeptical. They won't give it a shot. I did notice you had done some really innovative things, and thank you, thank goodness social media is out there now because we can like have some, very clever ways of doing it. But I did see that you engaged a really funny comedian who has been making some videos to really explain to people how the product works. And I think that's very effective. So within your marketing, do you look to create partnerships with like influencers, or how are you getting your users or your customers to really spread the message of this great product?
A lot of it is just persistence. We have evolved our messaging because even we didn't realize in the beginning what would truly be important, and we had to listen to customers. We can't just say our benefits. It does clean better. It does flush better. It's more sustainable. But people go, yeah, 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 but toilet paper falls apart. And so we really we now focus on the texture. Logan, who is our spokesperson, in the videos, is a big part of that. I'm glad you enjoyed the humor in them. She's a professional comedian, and she did a really good job. Though, as I'm sure you know from your marketing experience, humor is subjective. And I just had a note from someone the other day who thought she was condescending. So Logan will really appreciate that. It's just her style. And we're just, again, trying to bring light, like the emoji, to a challenging or awkward topic. We have worked with micro influencers, and they've shown us, sort of as a proxy for the customer, ways to talk about the product that we didn't think about. They showed us the importance of texture and how to speak of it in some of the language that resonated with them. And that's really been a big part of our learning curve. And we keep trying to do that.
Yeah, getting that customer feedback and then really taking it to heart is so important within this sector because a lot of times, like you said, we'll have an idea, you launch it in the market, and the way people receive it or utilize it can be very different. I find it very funny. You said that people were a little offended by, some of the comedy. And, people want to be offended by everything. I just thought she was funny. And also, I thought, with other products that we'd seen on the market in the last 20 years, which were, let's just say, bathroom based, it's
Right.
proven that comedy really works like that. So I think it's just funny that people would take offense to anything she said because I thought she was lovely and really communicated the message. But,
It's hard to make everybody happy.
it
The
is.
extra challenge we face is that innovation is an even harder sell. People have a hard time grasping new things they haven't seen before. And if someone's just listening to us, they have no concept of what true texture on slightly wet toilet paper is like. They've never felt it. They've never felt it on their face. They've never felt it on their arm. They've never felt it on their butt. And so getting that point across through a screen is really, really difficult because it's just new to people. You aren't used to thinking of unfamiliar things. Some days I wish I were just selling another water bottle, but it's sort of a fun challenge to try to blow up the flushable wipes market. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So with that said, since we've talked about so much of like your digital marketing, have you done in-person events and trade shows, or maybe even going to runner, conferences or like race expos to like show this product? Has that been part of your marketing?
It has not been to this point because of a couple reasons. One is just the resources to do it. You just get spread too thin. With us doing everything from the manufacturing to the marketing to writing patents to fulfillment to every day there are sales, and every day that fulfilling them is most important, and it's just a matter of time and energy. The other is leverage. Where do you get the biggest bang for your buck? Our customers are Well, they are global, but mostly they're national. That's where we focus, and they spread all over the country. And we can hit more people easier through video than we can through any number of in-person kind of visits.
Yeah, I believe you. Like I said, when I started watching the videos, it became more clear to me like how this actually works. So let's talk a little bit about the sustainability aspect. So as you
Yes.
corrected me in the beginning, and thank you very much, it is a silicone product.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's important because silicone is based in sand. It is not based in petrochemicals. Plastic comes from petrochemicals. And personally, we try to avoid that. So we're no plastic in anything we do, even down to the paper tape we use on products with its plant-based glue. So, we just try to get a little precise on that.
Yeah, and even the packaging that it comes in is a specific type of cardboard, correct?
Yes, it is called Mesa board, which comes from sustainable forests, sustainably managed forests in Norway, of all places. And they have their plot of land and they manage it carefully and they don't just go clear cutting everything. So we're really happy with that choice. And that wasn't a compromise for us. It's not like, oh, that added to the cost of the product because the printer that does that, they save money in other ways, like they do laser cutting of products rather than, making us pay for dyes and, throw away dyes and stuff like that. So, you can make a lot of choices like that. But really with sustainability, our focus is on reducing the use of flushable wipes. Nothing else we do measures up to that because every sale of our product takes 1,000 wipes out of the ecosystem every year. And that adds up year after year after year because our product can be used indefinitely.
That is just amazing to me. And again, anyone who is listening to this podcast, know right now your supposedly flushable wipes out there are not actually flushable and they are not good for the environment. So do not buy anymore.
None of them are appropriate, especially because there's so many alternatives. There are good alternatives now, and you really don't need them because they all of them, whether in whole or in pieces, will end up in a landfill somewhere or end up fouling a waterway. They do not just turn into plants. They become trash that somebody somewhere has to haul off to a landfill. Every single one of them.
Yeah, I've often said that we're just literally filling our planet with garbage. And at some point, when the human race is gone, some other life form might develop and they're going to look at our planet and be like, oh, they lived in trash. Like they lived on garbage.
Can you imagine being an archaeologist in the year, 100,000 AD, and going through our trash and still finding plastic there?
Yeah, it's really crazy. So, with this product then you had this great idea and you knew how to create it because you had already
Yes.
done some products. So was this actual business then self-funded or did you go out and get investors or crowdfunding or how did you get the capital to start developing this product and get it on the market?
We kept that really tight. It was partially self-funded. All the early work was, all the prototyping. I'm a believer in you have to have your product together before you go ask someone else to put money into it. It's just a personal belief on that. We used angel investors. And it was, in our case, relatively easy to find because I had done prior businesses and had a happy investor from that. And he was, willing to jump in again, bless his heart. And he brought in some other acquaintances. And so we used a relatively small amount of funding and we're paying our way as we go through profits.
Gotcha. So yeah, so then with your background, because you knew a little bit about how it works, um,
Yes.
you had, I'll just say, a good start, but I know, as with any entrepreneur and business owner, you learn lessons along the way. So, what were some of the lessons that you've learned through this process when manufacturing a consumer product?
The the key is finding partners you trust. If you can't trust a partner to produce a quality product, to produce it on time, then that's going to blow your customer's view of you. It's going to mess up inventory. You're going to have too much or too little. So you need people you can trust. I was lucky to have a manufacturing partner that I completely trusted to do what we needed to do at the quality we needed it. Now, what do you do if you're starting from scratch and don't have that available? With you just have to search for them. And your job in that is to be really clear on your requirements. I think too many people are like, yeah, just make this. And they trust without reason. They hope that the factory knows what it's doing, but you can't do that. You need to do samples with them or prototypes with them. You need to inspect the quality. You need to be clear on what you need different. With my printer, I had to do that. I'd say, you have to do this, not that, change this. And so communicating with anyone new, it's on you to be clear. And with anyone you've worked before, maintaining a good relationship. That to me is what's most important.
That's such a great mindset, Jim. Obviously, you're such a super creative person. Like I said, you're just a problem solver. Like you're always thinking of like, well, how could that be better? But what personally keeps you motivated to keep trying these new things and starting these new businesses? Is it the excitement of the creation? Is that what does it for you?
Well, to start the new ones, it's really seeing a problem that no one else will solve. I like being useful. I want to justify my time on earth by being useful, doing something useful that kind of helps people. And so, like when I came upon this problem, it was, you know, I could do something useful and it will be easier for me to do it than to ask someone else to do it. Because I often hear that someone will say, hey, here's a problem I'm having. You ought to do something about it. Why me? But again, I've done that before. And then you get into it and you kind of get sucked in. And I'll use an analogy that you might be able to relate to. I also have done triathlons. And, the first leg is the swimming. And you find yourself at 7 a.m. in the middle of a body of water, and the shore is half a mile away, and you only have a couple of options. And you're either going to quit and hope that someone will rescue you, or you're going to keep moving one arm after the other till you get where you're going with persistence. So I call that the sort of survive or die motivation. And business is like that. I have to keep pushing ahead. I have to keep pressing forward. I have to keep getting inventory and fulfilling orders, or, I die in the business sense. So that's the motivation. And like I said, doing something useful. I have a daughter, and showing her that I can do something useful and I can do it in hopefully the right way is also a huge motivation to keep doing this.
Well, my next question was going to be, what do you define as personal success? But I think you kind of just answered it there. Being useful is
Yeah.
such a great, example of success, really. I think we hear a lot, especially through social media, that everybody's chasing the billion-dollar idea, but sometimes just knowing that what you're doing is the right thing to do is really, what brings you the most happiness. And like I said earlier in our pre-conversation, as a society, I feel like we have convenienced ourselves into a box of just really not doing things that are sustainable or good for the environment, because we want it to be easy. We want it to be convenient. We want to be
Right.
comfortable, and we don't think of the long-term, results of our actions.
Well, I'm as you mentioned, trying to be useful, do something that really matters to the earth, that improves it. Again, every one we sell takes away 1,000 wipes a year based on the average person, average use. It's not just people use wipes. Here's a little fun fact for you and the listeners. Cottonelle, who would count as one of our competitors, has measured that people use an average of 2.91 wipes per toileting occasion. That's the vernacular in the industry. Toileting occasion, okay, per poop, you know. So they use almost 3 wipes. That's a lot going down the pipes. So, every use is replacing 3 at a time every day of the year. And that really matters.
Yeah, it's true. People don't just use one. They use multiple. And I'm putting myself in that category. I have done that in the past as well. But I do try to be really conscious now of when I'm using any product. It's like, do I need to take that much? Can I use a smaller amount? Can I not use it? Can I use something that's more recyclable? So again, it's like I think it's really being more responsible for our actions. That is really going to have the most lasting impact. So, um going back to your whole product development and life cycle, what do you think's next for the UnWipe? Like, I know you have the fashion colors, which I love. I know you're just getting it to market now, but do you already see other things that you think you want to develop or add to this product line based on consumer feedback?
I think what the direction for us is partnerships, because I don't want to create a product just to create a product. I'm not a fan of, conspicuous consumerism. Our product replaces something. By using our product, you can stop using wipes. And that was really important to me. So just creating something else without a similar reason. I can't speak French, so I can't say, you might know the phrase, the reason for doing something. It's beautiful in French. I just can't articulate that. So our focus is really now, we've educated consumers. We're in the process of it. We're still in our missionary phase, as one of my investors tells me often. But we're getting there. We're showing that something exists. We've already taken tens of millions of wipes out of use, based on the math behind it and replacing what's out there. So it's how to grow and scale. And that almost certainly involves working with other companies, and we encourage them to contact us. What toilet paper company wouldn't want to collaborate in some fashion with this, because it celebrates their product? Every use of a synthetic flushable wipe is instead of their product. Every use of our product requires more of their product. So it's to their benefit. And then think of the branding involved. When you couldn't look in your bathroom, look at the toilet paper and know what brand that is. So most toilet paper is mostly a commodity, whereas ours is a physical product. You brand it properly, and it's a constant reminder to the consumer of who it is that you're working with. And that should appeal to a lot of other companies to talk to us and partner with us.
Oh, I love what you said about that. The idea of partnerships for something like this. It makes so much sense. You've solved the problem, now creating the partnership. So more people are aware of this solution is so
Exactly.
key. I love that you said that. One of the things that really bothers me sometimes about the marketing of products is because people always want something new, that then, a company will start creating what we'll call adjacent products simply to have something new to sell
That's right.
when we didn't need it. I mean, we've seen it now with these what we call the long-term or the reusable cups and things like that. Companies creating in all colors and shapes and sizes. So now we all own 50 more cups than we're ever going to use in our whole life. And you're like, no, I just really needed the one. It was good
Right.
to start.
I'm with you on there. Although I wouldn't mind if people buy multiples of the UnWipe. That's why we do different colors. But really, I'm not talking about collecting them like collecting the designer cups. It's really a case where people will have one at home and one at work, and they'll have one at home and one in their gym bag for when they go to the gym. I know someone who keeps one at home and one in their RV. Or, different ones for different family members, or someone just told me the other day, we have an upstairs bathroom and a downstairs bathroom. So for the convenience of it, that's why you'd have multiples. But yeah, we don't just want to create other products. It's more important to us to work with compatible companies. You have something like Squatty Potty who makes that stool. Those are compatible. Poo-Pourri, totally compatible. Toilet paper companies, totally compatible. And so let's do it that way and help each other sell more rather than create other things and fight for our share of it. The acronym AOV, average order value. And how does one fight that battle? We'd rather do it with collaborations and partnerships than with creating stuff people don't really need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned Squatty Potty. I'm a huge fan. I bought one many years ago. My original one I still have. It is like
Good
my
for you.
favorite thing in my bathroom. I barely can go anywhere without one. And I think that would be such a great collaboration for you. So Squatty Potty people out there that are listening, I want you to contact Jim immediately because I want to see that collaboration between the Squatty Potty and the UnWipe because, oh my God, talk about solving the bathroom problems and things like that. What a great idea. So you have been such a great guest, Jim, and I've learned so much. And I know I mentioned in the beginning, but you were gracious enough to give us a coupon code for our listening audience. And I know I will be using it as well because I have my eye on the Bermuda color already. I love that one.
Very
So
good.
tell us about the coupon code that you offer to our listeners.
Okay. Appropriately, it is the Wild Party with no. I was thinking of making it Stephanie, but I figured the Wild Party would be equally appropriate. No spaces, and use that. And we have really a 10-20-30 model. The code will get you 10% off of one, and if you need multiples, 20% off two, or 30% off of three, which brings the price from $29 down to about $20 each, free shipping included.
Yeah, and I mean, just think about just the value there. These body wipes and butt wipes are usually like at least $3-4 a pack. You buy one of these unwipes and you make money basically because all that money you saved of these products that you would have bought, that add up so much. You can spend like over $150 a month on just buying reusable wipe. Well, not reusable wipes, disposable wipes. That first of all are bad for the environment. They're
Right.
bad for your bank account and they're just bad in general. And now we've just listen, Jim has solved this for all of us and he gave us a discount code. So I myself will be immediately clicking over and buying that Bermuda version. It is the cutest one, I think, the color scheme.
Well, thank you.
As soon as this is over. But before I do that, Jim, I have to thank you for being an awesome guest and for sharing your story on the Wild Party podcast.
Thank you for hosting this, Stephanie, and sharing the message. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Wild Party podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit boomtownmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at boomtownmarketing.com and click Get Started.